There he is. My friend, you are a
Hello.
sight for sore eyes.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's really good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
I'm going to give a couple minutes just for people to join in here. But in the meantime, I want to say
Okay.
that after these first couple interviews, the recommendation I want to give people is that they have a pen and paper handy because people have been everybody's given completely different music recommendations. Um,
Oh,
that
cool.
people listening in have said they wanted to follow up on. So um, I hope people will do that.
That's awesome.
Gosh, they're joining in quickly. Is that a deer? What a cheap trick? Cheap trick hat, not deer tick.
Yeah, I got my Cheap Trick hat on, and then I have my Nashville, my Country and Western Wednesdays, which is a little thing that our friend Jerry Pentecost runs here in
Oh,
town where everybody just sings their favorite classic country tunes. It's pretty
fun,
groovy.
fun. Jerry Pentecost has crashed at my house before, once or twice. Really
The
long time.
dude.
Such a great dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we can get started pretty promptly. It looks like people are joining in,
Cool.
but they can catch up. Um, I've been having everybody start by saying who you are, where you are, and maybe how we know each other. You want to go ahead and kick us off?
Sure. Um, my name is Aaron Lee Tasjan. I am in Nashville, Tennessee, and um, I think I think the first time we ever met was at a place called Sign of the Wagon.
I think that's
Is
true.
that right?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think
right?
you
Am I
played
remembering that
there.
right?
I first saw you do the Wildwood reunion showcase at Newport at the museum stage, and Zach Schmidt had been telling me about you forever. We had a lot of friends in common,
Oh,
and so as soon as that was over, I think I got in touch with you to book you to play Sign of the Wagon here in York that
yeah.
fall. Yeah,
That was with I think didn't Zach play that show too, I think?
yeah, I think you did.
Yeah.
I think you did.
That was such a fun night. So yeah, so I guess we know each other through Zach Schmidt, a great human being.
He is a great human being. He did one of these with me a little earlier today, and we had a lot of fun. He was dressed in Pittsburgh Pirates gear. Um, he said it felt like a Skype job interview, and he wanted to dress for the job once. So, so he
That's
showed up in
awesome.
Pirates gear. Yeah, yeah.
I love it.
So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Gosh, what do I do? I guess these days I would be considered by most people to be a songwriter. But I do a lot of things. I've produced some records for other artists, and I've played on a lot of other artist records. And for a long time, I started like doing a solo career as a musician in 2013, I guess, 14 maybe, right around then. And before that, I'd been a guitar player for many bands for years and years. In between times when that work was just slow, and I worked at G Star for a little while in New York, folding jeans in the basement, in the stock room down there. So I've had some other gigs too, but mostly I'm a songwriter and a musician.
And one of my favorites,
Oh,
if I may say. Um,
thanks.
Talk to me about what you've been doing while you're. This is becoming my least favorite word in the English language, and I love words. But while you are hunkered down in Nashville,
Ah,
what are
yes,
you up to keep busy down there right now?
we're hunkering. I well, actually, I'm doing a bunch of stuff. I'm in the middle of mixing a my new album, um, which is it's been a really interesting time to do that. The songs sort of roll in, and you listen to them and like you sort of imagine what the world is going to look like, when the record comes out, if the record comes out, all those kind of things cross your mind. Um, but I know it will. I know we're going to get through all this. So I've been doing that. I've been learning to play the piano, continuing to learn to play the piano, which has been really
I've seen you
fun.
play the piano, or at least keys on a stage before.
Yeah, it's something that I've been working on, and now I have a lot of time to work on it. So I've been challenging myself to do that and to try to learn some songs that are really challenging for me to sing. I'm working on learning some Rufus Wainwright songs and stuff like that. So trying to get better at doing what I do. And it's one thing that I've noticed. I feel like I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but like these days, these kind of quarantined days have felt like they just fly by. Like I really I feel like, I get up in the morning and I go about my daily routine, and by the time I look at the clock, it's like 5 p.m. every day. And so I'm really, it's sort of it feels like this interesting juxtaposition to me where like time is, slowed down, but it's also, it's also like it can really get away from you, you
Yeah.
know? So I think, I'm just trying to use my time, as best I can to restore my own energy and sense of, sense of the world and that we're living in, and how to be a more, how to be a better member of that world and society.
I think that's wise. We talked over text yesterday about how I'm just bad at time all the time. So this has
Yeah,
been
me too.
especially interesting for me. I never quite get the hang of, what happened when, or in relation to what other things would happen first. So this is really scrambling my brain a little bit,
Yeah.
being home for days on end like this.
Yeah, you know, it's a different, it's a different um, situation for a lot of people. For me, I feel really lucky in that I kind of do this, a lot anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I tend not to go out very much. And it's something that I usually end up feeling kind of weirdly guilty about because there's, we're on tour so much and stuff like that. There's so many shows that um, I wish that I could see, that my friends are playing in town, all the time and stuff like that. And so, when I'm home and I'm not going out, there's that part of me that still feels kind of restless, still feels, isn't really allowing my body and my mind to like take in the rest that I really need to like rejuvenate myself, because I'm sort of concerned about like what I'm missing,
Mm-hmm.
what's out in the world that I'm missing. But this situation has changed that, where that doesn't exist anymore. I'm not
Yeah.
missing anything
You
because
don't have to cram
nothing's
all that in
happening.
while we're home. Yeah.
And so that's kind of a gift in a way. You know what I mean? And I'm grateful for that, you know, but it's, yeah, I think this time and this place that we're in is, an important one, and it's a great time to consider, you know, why it's happening, and why we are where we are. And I really feel like the earth is like is showing us like what, what we need to do, to move past this and get beyond this. And I think, um, being kinder to each other is a huge one, but also being kinder to ourselves, and really, not, feeling, shame in, doing the things that we need to do to have a healthy mind and to have a healthy outlook, on the world, and to have a healthy heart and soul. I think, reflection and, all those kind of meditation, any of that kind of stuff is so great for this. And, my friend Finley Brown, and who's from England and a great singer-songwriter, and he and his wife live in Finland these days. She's Finnish, but they keep saying, if you can't go outside, go inside, meaning if you can't go, out to the bars and out to sort of reflect on life amongst your group of friends or peers or whomever, you can do that, for yourself, within yourself. And that's so powerful and like so healing, and I just think like now is just such a great time to heal.
It's really wise. That's the way to take advantage of the situation for sure. There's been a number of silver linings, that being one of them. And also, the way people have taken the opportunity to connect with each other like this.
Yes.
I've really appreciated that, especially platforms like this where we have these chats at the bottom, and I can see Zach telling us he loves us, and Brian saying hello. And
hey Brian, hey Zach.
Zach was on with me at noon, and Brian Wright will be on at 3 p.m. I want to tune back in.
I do.
But I wonder, have you been watching any of the live stream stuff? Have you done any of those yourself?
I haven't done any yet, although we're planning some stuff. I actually watched Zach Schmidt's Zach and Jackie the other night. That was great.
Me too.
I caught some of my friend Darren Bradbury. That was really awesome. The Luck reunion one was incredible. So good. So many great performances. Yeah, I'm loving the live streaming thing. And I would imagine, a lot of people are. I think, one of the things that I love about music is that it's really like a true kind of universal language in a way, because music is oftentimes the one time where people will kind of let their guard down, where they'll kind of, even if it's unconsciously, listen to a thought or an idea that might, change their perspective, or, enlighten them in some way, or, give them a new sense of themselves in some regard. And so because of that, it's really valuable, what we say in songs, and so I think, these connections that we can make, by, getting on Skype and listening to someone, play their guitar or their piano and sing for us for a few minutes. It's really, it is really healing, and something that, I think is important, to do right now, because, this is the time for that. This is the time to heal. This is the time to come together. This is the time to remember all of these things that, are a essential part of being alive, really, and value those things again. And that's what's so great about right now. We have the opportunity to do that. And I see a lot of people who are doing that, whether they even know they're doing it or not, and so that unconscious collective spirit, that that invisible fishing line that goes from my heart to your heart to everybody else's heart is getting plucked right now, so we can all feel that, and that's really cool.
What a beautiful way to put it. Thank you so much. I've noticed that you've been posting on social media about, I think I saw this on Twitter, about some albums you've been rediscovering while you've been home. Tell me what you're listening to.
Well, I've been listening to a bunch of stuff. The most recent Spiritualized record. I don't know if you're a fan of Spiritualized at all or not. What happened was I went to Grimey's a couple of weeks ago to see my friend Sadler Vaden do his record release show there. And I wanted to do something that I hadn't done for a long time in a record store, which was buy some records by bands that I had heard were good, but I had never heard a note of their music. So it was either that, or I just looked at the cover and I thought, this cover is really cool. I gotta hear what this music is about.
That's a really fun way to record shop.
Isn't it? I used to do that all the time when I was a kid, and I just hadn't done it forever. So I did that, and it was so fun. And so I got the Spiritualized record, which is from 2019. It's so good. And so many of the songs are really like speak to the times right now. It's really cool. And a record by this band called Illiterate Light.
Oh, so good.
So good. Yeah. Particularly the second half of their record, which I can't remember the name of right now, but it's the only one that's out. I think it's the new one.
It's not self-titled, is it? It might be.
Maybe it is, but it's so good. It's so good. Really cool, different, unique. But yeah, and then just there's always these records that, for whatever reason, for me, just stay in the rotation, like always. And so I've thought about those records a lot too, because I thought, man, it probably is a great time, for me to consider those records, because it's like, why do they stay with me for so long? Like, why does this particular set of songs like keep speaking to me like over and over again? And it's interesting how, some songs, they'll resonate with you at a certain point in your life, and then time kind of goes on, and maybe that, dissipates, or whatever reason, you still appreciate that time. You hear the song, it takes you back to that time in your life. But then there's those records that just stay, right. Those songs that just become a part of the canon of your soundtrack to your life, And
you internalize them, so they're part of your identity, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I've been trying to share those records too. So one that I shared yesterday from that side would be a record called Highway Companion by Tom Petty, which is a really cool Tom Petty record. I think he and Jeff Lynne are the only two guys that play on it. Maybe Mike Campbell's on something, I don't know. I know Ben Mont's not on it. Tom's on drums even, which is really cool to hear, and he does a great job playing drums. But the songs on that record just, keep telling me things that I need to hear, and I think that's sort of that urgency. I love that about music. I love urgency in songs, and when it feels like the singer needed to tell you that, and when you have that feeling in your heart that you needed to hear that at that moment, it's so powerful. So those records are resonating with me really deeply right now too, and I'm going to keep sharing those, because even a record like Highway Companion by Tom Petty, we're so inundated with information. We're so inundated with, new music and buying things from Amazon and, all this, kind of stuff being thrown at us like constantly, sometimes we miss things that even, by big famous rock stars like Tom Petty. I was surprised that when I put that tweet up that it seemed like some people who I would have thought would be champions for that record, like weren't aware or hadn't really checked it out or whatever, so it's kind of cool. And this is, again, just a great time for getting to know records, that, you didn't know before by artists who you've loved forever,
For sure. Take a deeper dive into the catalog. I wrote down something you said there because I thought it was such a beautiful turn of phrase. The songs keep telling me things I need to hear. I really love that. I feel that way. The person who comes to mind most immediately is John Moreland's lyrics. I really feel like John Moreland's songs are holding a mirror up for me.
Yeah, I love John so much, and I have been a huge fan of his for a long time. And I think, John's words are, I think they really go deep, for a lot of folks. I'm definitely one of them. He has a way of writing about he has a way of writing about the parts of the human experience that aren't always easy to consider, but he writes about them with so much love and so much compassion. And I think that really, just, that combination is so it just cuts to the core of me. I mean, it's so it's so hard to be compassionate sometimes, especially when we're confronting the parts of ourselves that that we're even unsure of, And John is so compassionate. And I just love where his heart and his head is at. And I think his new album is just brilliant. And I can't wait to see what else he gives us. I feel so lucky to have an artist like that in this time.
Here's the new one.
Yeah.
LP5. I have this all propped up on my my heavy rotation record shelf here.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. And also in heavy rotation, this guy.
Man, look at that guy.
Look at that guy.
Spent a little too long in the tanning bed, I think, maybe.
Let's talk for a second, if you don't mind. You have become very well known for your, how do I want to put this, sartorial prowess. Let's talk about just expressing ourselves through other ways too.
Yeah.
I love how much you care about that sort of thing, and you make it look so, it probably is effortless. You wear the things you love, and that's that, but to great effect. We all love it. Love how
Thanks,
you show
JJ. Yeah, for me, that's a part of it, I want to live in my art, because that's the part of my makeup that connects me to humanity and connects me to God, and when I say God, I just mean the energy force of goodness.
Sure.
The trees and and rock and roll and sex and the beauty in the world. To me, that's God. So I want to stay connected with that. And, my art, my music helps me do that, but living in that, that's, I feel even more connected to that when I put something on that to me is either a physical, or visual representation of, the things that I believe in, and the things that I believe in are just all the things that I sing about, so sometimes what I'm wearing is meaningful for me because it was, you know, gifted to me from somebody that's very special to me, you know, or sometimes what I'm wearing is very meaningful to me because, um, you know, um, I'm trying to absorb some new sort of, you know, musical information or style or absorbs some kind of technique or something that I'm unfamiliar with. Sometimes wearing something that channels that energy, you know, for whatever reason, it just makes me feel like I can do it, you know. And I think like, you know, the real magic is like using the things that we can't see or can't tangibly hold to affect the things that we can see and can hold and can touch, you know. And so, to me, it's like, yeah, putting on something that makes me feel like my true self, makes me feel like my best self, you know, is just like, yeah, it's like putting on armor to go do battle or something, you know. I mean, there's so much to it from so many sides, but you know, it is really fun, and it is a cool way, I think, to express yourself without, you know, having to, um, you're never punching down, you know, by putting on a really fun, you know, outfit and going out into the world and feeling great, you know. I think, um,
I mean, do
you
what makes
know,
you feel good, right?
exactly. That's really what it is. Do what makes you feel good, and whatever that is, however that looks, you know. But it's fun to consider that, and it's fun to define that for yourself, and it's fun to define it and then play with it. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
fun to define it and then mess with it and like see how far you can take it in this direction or that direction. It's all, the rules are meant to be broken, you know, and that's what's great about fashion. It's all about, what you want to say about who you are.
I think that's great advice. Do you know Daniel Romano?
I love Daniel
Yeah,
Romano.
every time I've ever seen him live and in person, he looks completely different. Like there have been times he walked in the room and I didn't recognize him because he's changed up his whole look. So I feel like
Totally.
he subscribes to that philosophy too.
He's so good, and his records are so good. And we actually played a show with him one time at the 40 Watt, and it was in Athens, Georgia, for Ath Fest. Our good friends at Normal Town Records were putting it on, and New West Records were putting it on. We love those guys, and uh, Daniel just blew me away. And I didn't really know his music at that point, and it just sent me like immediately to Spotify to listen to everything I could, and then to Bandcamp because he had all these other records that I didn't know
Yeah,
about up on Bandcamp. He's just so prolific, but so
and
good
versatile, real versatile.
and versatile. I
The
agree
King of
so much.
Mosey, right?
So,
That's his thing. The King
yeah.
of Mosey, but
Oh
he can
yeah.
do so much more.
So good.
Yeah, he's really wonderful. He's played Sign of the Wagon too. He's played Cable House. I see Lily Hyatt is on the chat here. Hello, Lily. I
Oh,
don't know Lily, but
hi
we have a lot
Lily.
of friends in common. I've been trying to book you for a long time. I hope when all this madness settles, the dust settles, we can get you on your, this new album and welcome you to York to play. And is Todd Snyder on? Is that actually Todd? Good Lord. Good
Hey
Lord.
Todd.
A huge fan. I keep Todd's book on my nightstand and I just open it when I'm having a bad day just to the underlined parts and it makes me feel better instantly.
It's
Um,
such a great book. It's so good.
so good. It feels like you're just sitting there listening to him tell stories uh, like he does on the stage. Um, I've often wondered if somebody just sort of took dictation while he talked to do that book. That's what it feels like. It feels very conversational. Um,
So good.
thank you for all those digressions there. Let's see. So one other thing before we wrap up. I've been giving everybody an opportunity to give sort of a 30-second or a minute, whatever. I'm bad at time. I won't know the difference. To talk to us and just tell us what's the best way to support you right now, or to support the things that you care about, where they can find out more about you if they weren't familiar before and they're just being introduced to you. What do you want the people to know?
Well, we want people to know that that we're going to get through this. It's a tough time for sure, but there are lots of things that we can do right now to support each other, to support artists. Buying something directly from the artist, whether it's from their website or from their Bandcamp, means the world. If people can afford to do that, I would absolutely encourage that. A great one-stop shop for that kind of thing would be my friends here in town over at Cafe Rooster Records. They just have so many artists and albums and music and amazing t-shirts and cool stuff that you'd love to wear and that you need to hear. Highly recommend them. Beyond that, I think, I'm really feeling super hard for service industry workers right now. Those people are not getting the bailouts from the government that they should be getting. That's really troubling to me. They're the backbone of the American economy. We just did a collaboration with a fancy clothing label that's really cool called Gun Control. Mm-hmm. And we made a t-shirt of, a lot of times when I'm signing people's records, I'll draw this little heart and I'll write "Raise Hell" in the middle of it and put an arrow through it. So we took one of those off the album and we made that into a really cool t-shirt design. And we're going to be selling those through my website as soon as we can get back in contract with our distribution people. And all the money all the profit from those t-shirts is going to go directly to the service industry workers here in Nashville.
That's great.
So please be on the lookout for that. But we're going to be doing some live streaming stuff as well in the coming weeks. And, we just got the 14-day stay-at-home, safer-at-home notice here in Nashville. So, for the next 14 days, we're going to be figuring out how to serve the people here in Nashville and how to better our communities. But please continue to support artists and service industry workers, folks who, are affected by this situation adversely. We can't control outcomes, but we can certainly control the reaction to what's happening right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm so heartened by how I see people responding to it and reaching out to each other, and stuff like this is so great. Thank you so much for reaching out to me to have this conversation today. I really appreciate it, and I just know we're going to get through this, and it's hard right now, but we're America and we've been through hard times before, and we'll get through these, and we'll get through whatever else comes our way. I know it. So I love you guys, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. Keep staying strong, stay healthy. Love and peace.
Couldn't agree more. I'll keep an eye out for whatever you might do live stream wise, because we're on the Cable House Facebook page. We're posting at least one live stream recommendation a day from people who have played Cable House before, and you've played twice at Cable House, once at Sign of the Wagon at least, and twice at Cable House. So we will certainly share that, because I know we have a lot of huge even ALT fans here in New York, and they'll be really glad to tune in. So we'll make sure they get that info. The rest of you that are listening in, we'll be back at 3:00 Eastern with Brian Wright. You mentioned Cafe Rooster Records. I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about that from B. Wright when he gets on here with me. That's it. Thank you so much for taking some time to do this, and you stay well, and I hope to see you before too much more time has passed.
Thanks, JJ. You too. Love y'all.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, you guys.